What's your dirtiest, most jaw-dropping, intimate confession no one in your life knows about? Story 1. So, a while ago I did it with my pastor's daughter, who to this day claims she's a virgin. Only later did I learn she may have been under the influence of strong medication. Now, let me be clear. Yes, I felt like absolute jerk afterwards. And no, I had no idea she was on any kind of medication at the time. It happened during a church Thanksgiving dinner. Most people had already left, and it was just me and her sitting outside on her porch, talking. The conversation started getting a bit more personal, more intimate. That's when I figured it was time to be upfront. I asked, "Do you remember us doing it?" I had a fallback ready, just in case she said no. My plan was to just brush it off with, "Oh, never mind, must have been someone else." But then, she said yes. She remembered. She called it a huge mistake but admitted she didn't regret sleeping with me. In her words, if that hadn't happened, I might have never met my fiancé or known what I really wanted. I didn't bring up the whole calling herself a virgin thing. I didn't want it to sound like I was accusing her of being a hypocrite. The point is, she knew I made a move, a dumb one, yeah, but she said she went along with it because she was curious too. She told me the meds had her feeling a bit woozy but not so far gone that she didn't know what was happening. I was her first, so maybe that explains why she avoided eye contact and why the whole thing felt awkward. We both agreed not to tell her husband. It would break his heart, she said. I know it's a crappy situation, and maybe even a crappy decision, but it's her call. Strangely enough, I've been feeling lighter this past week. What used to feel like my biggest, darkest regret now just feels like an ordinary mistake. I feel a lot better of my past knowing I didn't SA anybody. Before we continue, do us a quick favor. Smash that like button and subscribe to support our channel. Story 2. I used to let men bang me for money. I'm female. My parents got a computer in the late 90s when I was 18. I started exploring Yahoo chat rooms just for fun. Eventually, curiosity led me into the adult chat rooms. Because of my age, I got a lot of messages and plenty of cyberbang conversations. Sometime in 1999, I agreed to let a 40-year-old man come to my house in the middle of the night. My room was in the basement, and my parents were upstairs. Looking back, I can't believe I risked getting caught. I had been chatting with him for a few weeks, and he promised to get me to climax. He came over at 2 a.m. on a Friday night. He was good-looking, not a creeper or anything like that. I met him outside and let him in. We talked for a few minutes and then started drinking the Zimas he brought. Quickly, things escalated, and we did it on my bed. It felt amazing to be wanted. I didn't have many friends or boys interested in me. He banged me again that night and then ate my pie. He was married, but asked if he could come back, saying he'd pay me. He knew other men who would pay too. My mother was strict with money, and I wanted cash for new clothes. I just wanted to fit in. So, I agreed. Over the next couple of years, I slept with many men. They'd pick me up around the corner from my house and take me to their homes or hotels. It went on for about 2 years, and I made thousands. Then a rubber broke, and I got scared I was pregnant. That's when I decided to stop. A few standouts. One guy was the stepfather of my brother's friend. He paid me to babysit and then banged me from behind on his and his wife's bed while the kids played in the backyard. One guy was in his late 50s and took me clothes shopping. He spent around $300 on new jeans, dresses, and more. Later, he took me to a hotel and banged me 3 times in a row, which surprised me given his age. Another I met at the park wanted to do it in the wooded area. He enjoyed public encounters. He was a heavy guy, and his weight on me was really uncomfortable. At one point, he accidentally banged my thighs. It's weird to look back on that time. Story 3. Thanks for serving our country. Sorry I banged all your wives. This one's been bugging me for a while. There was a time when I partied a lot and hit the bars all the time. I was making good money, had a nice car, and was generally full of myself. I'm a decent-looking dude, and I've always had the ability to convince women to sleep with me. I don't pressure them, I just know how to play the game, so to speak. Anyway, on 5 separate occasions, I've convinced a woman to go home with me or go home with her, knowing full well that she had a husband serving in Iraq or Afghanistan. I've never talked to any of these women. after we slept together. I guess I just like the challenge. I'm not bragging about it. I'm ashamed I would do that to someone serving in the military, was raised in it, and it feels good to get it out there. Story 4. My boyfriend slept with my sister after I encouraged them both to do it, and now I am starting to hate her. I've always had a freaky side. I enjoy talking with my boyfriend about fantasies, doing role plays, and things like that. We've had 2-3 scores in the 6 years we've been together, and it's been great. A couple of years ago, I brought up the idea of him doing it with my sister. She's younger than me, cute, and all that. We talk about it sometimes, and I even liked it when he talked to me like I was her while we were being intimate. She and I were pretty open about it, and I joke around with her sometimes. They were friends and got along okay. A few months ago, I went out of town and jokingly told her to keep him company while I was away. Well, she did. They got together at our place and basically banged the whole week. When I got back and was getting in the mood with my boyfriend, he brought it up. At first, I thought he was just fantasizing, but it quickly became clear it really happened. I played along but was honestly shocked. The next day, I talked to her about it, and she confirmed it, saying how much fun it finally was. They've gotten together a couple of times since then. I feel like crap, but I stirred all of this up for so long with both of them that I don't think it's really their fault, especially not my boyfriend's. I don't say much, just something like that sounds hot because I don't know how to bring it up. I'm not even really mad at him, but I am getting increasingly pissed at her and have started treating her poorly without explaining why. Story 5. I banged my ex-boyfriend's father. To preface this post, I need to admit that I am bipolar. I was undiagnosed at the time, and everything I'm about to share is completely out of character for me. I will forever be ashamed of it. In 2010, I had just moved out of my parents' place and into an apartment with my boyfriend of 8 years. I had a well-paying job, and life was good. But over the next few months, after settling in, I lost my job, my boyfriend left me, and I was facing homelessness. I couldn't move back in with my parents. They were going through a messy divorce and selling the house. My only sibling, who's 3 years younger, was in another state at school, so I couldn't stay with him either. I didn't know it at the time, but stress can trigger a manic episode, and I was very sick, miserable, and no one would hire me. I ended up responding to an online ad for escort. I didn't let myself think it through or talk myself out of it. After not eating for 3 days and with rent already a day late, I told myself, it's just like hooking up with a one-night stand. I was on autopilot. A day later, I drove to the next state. I didn't want to work locally and met a normal-looking, attractive guy around my age. He gave me a fake name and took me to a bar with his girlfriend to discuss the work, his cut, and tips on how to stay safe. It all felt surreal, but I agreed. That night, I bought a huge bottle of alcohol and rented a room. I drank heavily because I knew I wouldn't be able to go through with it sober. A few guys came by. After the 6th, the buzz wore off, and I felt disgusted with myself. I decided I didn't want to continue. I'd rather be homeless than sell myself to sneaky old perverts while their wives waited at home. A few years later, I met a guy at a bar I was at with my friends. He came over and used the worst pickup line I'd ever heard, but we still exchanged numbers. It didn't take long for us to start a relationship because, let's call him Sam, he was charming, sweet, and very caring. After months of dating, Sam took me to his family home, a state away, to introduce me to his younger sister and his parents. You all know where this is going. We walked in, and I was so nervous to meet everyone. I saw his mom first. She gave me a big hug and a kiss. Then I heard his dad shout from the next room, "Oh, our victim is here. Hope she doesn't know we invited her to be our dinner." When he walked in, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. In an instant, the smile on my face turned to horror. Sam's father was one of the men I had slept with. I couldn't look Sam or his father in the eye. All I wanted was to go home and cry. Sam and I stayed together for a year and a half. I went to many family events, but I never brought myself to talk to Sam or anyone else about it. I've been too ashamed, even to tell a therapist. I'm so disgusted with myself. Thank you for taking the time to hear my story. Story 6. I'm a 22-year-old female and I've done it with over 80 men. I started having physical relations early, and even though I've had one 3-year relationship, I've done it with over 80 men. I can actually say exactly how many because I can bring myself to count, and honestly, I'm afraid it might be over 100. I feel like that number is way beyond my years or anyone's, really. I've thought about whether I'm addicted to banging, but I think it might be more about an addiction to closeness, to having someone want me, hold me, and make me feel like I belong. Don't get me wrong, I don't go home and cry myself to sleep out of regret. Most of them I'm still on speaking terms with, and I genuinely like them as people. Yes, I regret a few. But I'm scared that one day I'll fall in love, and that person will love me back, and I'll never have the courage to tell them how many people I've been intimate with and how many of them are still my friends. Edit. I want to thank everyone who has helped me feel less like, well, a slut. I always assumed that in a fully committed relationship, honesty was above all else, and if he asked, he'd have the right to know. But I understand now that we have the right to keep some things private, and I probably will when the time comes. I do find intimate relations fun, but I'm safe about it. I get regularly tested and take care of myself. Thank you all, though. It's comforting to realize that some things don't matter as much as we think they do. Story 7. A couple of years ago, I cheated on my girlfriend with her mother. We were young. I was 21, and she was 18. We'd been dating for about 3 years before it happened. My girlfriend was very cute, kind, and absolutely didn't deserve to be cheated on, especially not by her own mother, but it happened anyway. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to cheat. Growing up, I watched the show Cheaters and thought, how could anyone do that to someone? Little did I know I'd become exactly what I mocked. The seeds were planted during a car ride home with my girlfriend, her mother, and me. I'm not sure how it started, but the question came up, who did I think was the most beautiful girl in the world? Naturally, I said my girlfriend, and thought that would be the end of it. I had no idea I had upset her mother with that comment. Later that day, she texted me saying she was hurt by what I said in the car. I was shocked and wondered what I could have possibly said to hurt her. She explained that she wanted to be appreciated as a woman, and when I said her daughter was so beautiful, it made her feel jealous. She added that every woman wants to feel beautiful. I tried to agree with her and keep the conversation calm because I worried that if she was upset with me, it might affect how I saw my girlfriend. They were very close, and I didn't want anyone to be mad or upset with each other. She eventually agreed that my comment wasn't a jab at her looks. Quite the opposite. I told her she was a beautiful woman for her age, and that she looked better than many women her age. My intentions were pure, but looking back, I can see where things started to shift. She was really happy with my compliments, so much so that she revealed she and her daughter had the same taste in men, and that she had thought I was cute ever since I came home with her daughter. Of course, that got my heart racing. We ended up texting each other for several days. What started as a simple check-in to make sure everything was okay soon turned into honest conversations about ourselves. Before long, things escalated. She told me her husband no longer acknowledged her the way she was used to, and it was tearing her up inside. That's when the texts started getting intense. She said they'd tried every position in the book, and even wore lingerie to spice things up, but nothing worked. Naturally, this caught my young, eager mind's attention. Over a series of messages, she even sent me a photo of herself in the lingerie. At that point, I was still blissfully unaware of just how far we were about to go. Things came to a climax when we finally crossed the line. I was home alone for the weekend and asked my girlfriend if she wanted to come over that night. She really wanted to, but ultimately decided against it. I was fine with her not coming, but what I didn't know was that she was talking to her mother about me being alone. Maybe that's where the idea came from. Later that night, her mother texted me asking if she could come over for a visit, and I said yes. I asked if my girlfriend would be joining, but she said it would just be her. That made my heart race. I wasn't sure why, but I was definitely getting excited. And we headed straight for the bed, sitting at the foot of it. We turned to each other, locking eyes. I'm a little fuzzy on who made the first move, but someone leaned in for a kiss, which quickly turned into a makeout session. She seemed nervous and asked if we could turn off the lights. I agreed, and once the lights were out, we continued exploring each other's bodies in the dim light. After we did it twice, reality snapped back into focus. My mind struggled to grasp what had happened and what it meant. It felt like stumbling upon weird corn, first finishing, then regretting it a little because you've just learned something unexpected about yourself. Maybe I shouldn't have, but after we cleaned up, I almost kicked her out. I didn't know how to handle what was happening. Looking back, I regret not being there for her, especially given where things ended up. At the time, all I could think about was how I was ruining my relationship with an amazing girl by getting involved with her mother, no less. After that, we talked quite a bit. We worked through things and decided it was best to come clean to everyone. It was tough. We didn't know what would happen. But after countless hard times, days of dedication, and earning respect, we managed to maintain a healthy relationship for several years. Eventually, they moved away, and that's how we ended things. Story 8. I'm a 42 years old married man, and I have been banging my 38 years old married boss for months at work. I transferred to this office, National Retail Corp. A little more than 2 years ago. We got along very well from the start, had a little flirtatious talk, eye contact, etc. But nothing serious. Before long, we started going for coffee every couple of days or so, and it became a habit. Then we started talking more about our personal lives, and eventually were relating all kinds of personal stuff, marriages, kids, frustrations. About 6 months ago, she emailed me near the end of the day, asking me to come by her office. I walked in, and she said, "Can you close the door, please?" I immediately thought, uh-oh, what did I do? She starts by saying she's been thinking about something for weeks and asks me not to be offended. Then she admits she's been thinking more and more about me, that she's very attracted to me, and asks if there's any chance I feel the same. She's clearly embarrassed and nervous. I'm a bit stunned. I walk closer, thinking I might just pat her shoulder or hand and tell her to relax, that it's okay. But before I know it, we're in each other's arms, kissing, then tearing each other's clothes off. We banged right there on the couch in her office. We've been doing this once or twice a week ever since. Always in her office. I don't have one, except for that one time in a server room. It's either early in the morning or late in the day. One of us will send a quick email with a code phrase to see if it's doable. Every time, we say we need to stop, that this will be the last time. We both feel awful about it, but we keep coming back. It's like we're addicted. And I'll admit it, the banging is incredible. I'm sure a big part of it is the secrecy, the location, the thrill of doing something forbidden, but still, I know it has to end. I know it's wrong, but I can't seem to help myself. She's gorgeous, uninhibited, and honestly, a great boss in every other way. I just feel lost. Story 9. I did it with one of my friend's moms last night. It was a pretty crazy night. I decided to surprise my good female friend at her house for her birthday. Maybe bring over some of our mutual friends and a few drinks. Around 10 p.m., I headed over to her place, only to find out she'd already left to party with some other friends. So, I texted the mutual friends who weren't with her, the ones I'd invited over, and said, "Let's just meet her at X Club instead." I didn't want to be rude to her mom, who answered the door and invited me in for a quick chat. She could tell I was a little buzzed. I'd pre-gamed before coming over. She offered me a drink before I left, so I accepted, and we started drinking together. We got sidetracked talking about alcohol, and there was a comedy routine playing on the TV in the background. It was really funny, so we both got distracted, shared a lot of laughs, and kept drinking. She was really touchy with me, but I just went along with it. After about 45 minutes of hanging out, she suddenly kissed me, and I didn't stop her. At first, I was pretty passive, but then I started getting charged. Before long, I was fully into it. Things ended well. She was very good at what she did. We ended up sleeping together on the couch. It got pretty awkward when my friend came back around 3 a.m. and found us there together. Update. I met up with my friend for coffee, expecting we'd talk about what happened. She started off by saying her parents had been going through a rough patch lately, and that she appreciated I finally stopped being evasive. Apparently, she'd been trying to get her mom to talk too, but her mom had been just as vague as I was. She stayed pretty calm, but I could tell she was emotionally on edge. Then she asked flat out why I slept with her mom and why I didn't come join her at the bar for her birthday. I told her I had gone to her house with the intention of surprising her. She didn't look like she believed me. After a while, she said, "I'm tired of pretending to be calm," and suddenly started slapping me. Then she grabbed a heavy book and tried to hit me with it. I managed to calm her down by hugging her tightly. I told her I was sorry for everything that happened, that I had only vaguely known her parents were going through a rough time. I admitted her mom initiated the kiss, but I was the one who escalated things from there. She got really pissed but didn't hit me again. She just left the coffee shop. I tried to go after her, but she wouldn't even look at me. Now she's ignoring my calls and texts. I honestly don't know what to do. Should I talk to her mom or try again with my friend? I know I screwed up badly, but what's the next move here? Story 10. I slept with my mom's friend and still do. My mom was quite a bit older than her friend. They met when my mom went to university later in life. I always had a bit of a crush on her friend. She had 2 kids with the same guy who even she admitted was kind of a waste of space. They were childhood sweethearts, but had drifted into this on and off casual banging kind of dynamic over the years. When I was 18, I was looking to earn some extra cash to cover my car payments. Things were pretty tight with my part-time job, so I couldn't really say no to any opportunity. It was arranged that I'd babysit her kids while she went out. She had some old friends she used to live with in a rough part of town, won't say where, to keep things anonymous, and whenever she went out with them, she'd get properly drunk and stay out really late. I showed up about 30 minutes earlier than I was supposed to, mainly just to see her before she left. I was hoping to catch her looking good before she got too drunk, and she didn't disappoint. She looked hot as hell in a short black dress. I told her she looked nice, and she smiled, showed me where to find food and anything I might need, and left some money to order takeaway for me and the kids. She mentioned she'd be home late, and asked if that was okay with my mom. I told her it was fine. By then I was driving. We agreed that if she came back too late, I'd just crash on the couch. She left, and I got the kids to bed around 10 p.m. After that, I just sat in front of the TV, waiting for her to come home so I could head out. I was getting bored, and that's when the thought crept in. I started wondering if I should try to make a move on her. I figured she'd be drunk enough that if I failed, she probably wouldn't remember and wouldn't say anything to my mom. And if it didn't work out, maybe I'd get another shot next time I was asked to babysit. Kinda like Edge of Tomorrow, except with more banging. She came in, clearly a bit unsteady on her feet, and pretty drunk. I got up right away to help her. I was honestly worried she might fall. She said she'd be fine, but I insisted on helping her up the stairs, just to be safe. As I supported her, one arm around her waist, she looked at me and asked, somewhat slurred, if I still thought she looked good. I was kinda stammering, trying to impress her, and I said she looked like a MILF. She laughed and said, I said I'm glad someone thinks that. I asked her if she knew what it means, and in the saddest pickup line of my career, I asked if, to me, she would rather be a MIF to me, or a MILF. She asked what a MIF was, and I slid my hands up to her cocoa melons and said, Mothers I bang. She said defiantly, a MIF, and we started kissing. We had an amazing time and fell asleep together. I woke up earlier than her and sneaked out to grab her dress from the hallway so her kids wouldn't see it or ask questions. When I came back in, still bare, I woke her up. She saw me and noticed the used side of the covers. She asked if we had done it, saying she thought it was just a dream. I told her no, it wasn't a dream. I got back in bed beside her and told her she was the best I ever had out of 3, though I didn't say that, and asked if we could do it again. She smiled and agreed. We all agreed not to tell my mom and to keep it secret and casual. Over the next 5 years, we had frequent casual banging, even sometimes while in other relationships. At one point, we discussed making it serious but decided it was better as it was. We still do it to this day, though less often now since she's married. I just wanted to get this off my chest. I'm not ready to share names or locations, so I made a new Reddit account to say this because I'm afraid someone I know might find out. I really enjoyed this experience and have no regrets. I hope it continues. Has anyone else had a similar experience? Please share. Story 11. I was 21 when I finally moved out of my parents' house about a year ago. The apartment I moved into is nice, well kept, and maintained. The neighbors are mostly families who keep to themselves, and despite being in a big city, there's rarely any crime. But on the first floor below me lives a woman I didn't meet until about a week after I moved in. Meeting her changed my life in ways I never expected. Out of respect, I won't use her real name. I'll call her Lizzie. One morning, as I was checking my car's oil before heading out, I met Lizzie for the first time. I had the day off, but still woke up early to go to the gym. Her car was parked just 2 spaces away. She was walking up to it right as I was coming back from my apartment to top off my oil. I noticed her car wouldn't start when she got in. After a few tries, I offered to help since she seemed in a hurry to drop her son off at school and get to work. I quickly discovered her battery was dead, so I grabbed my jumper cables and after a few moments got her car started. I didn't expect to be thanked with a hug from her. At that time, I was single and hadn't really talked to girls I was interested in. When I went out with friends, I was too busy and focused on work. When a girl did catch my interest, she was usually taken, not interested, or, well, someone I didn't want to get involved with. I said not trying to call all girls that, it's just how it seemed. The last time I had a girlfriend was back in high school, and that didn't work out. With how things were going, I didn't want to be in a relationship. I thought they were just a waste of time. Honestly, I figured most girls my age nowadays just weren't interested in relationships. Instead, they seemed to bash guys or men in general, blaming them for how bad the dating world is. Sometimes, I blamed myself for not trying harder. To distract myself, I'd often just solo off myself to pass the time and forget all those frustrations. Until I met Lizzie, of course. Back to her. I was taken aback by Lizzie's hug, and I'm not complaining. It felt warm and comforting. Her arms wrapped around me. She smelled amazing. Short stature, raven hair, olive skin with curves, a big bust, and a round ass. She was an extremely attractive woman. After I told her she'd need a new battery since the current one wouldn't last long, she asked if I could get one and install it for her. She didn't know much about cars. She promised to pay me back in the end. Being the nice person I am, I agreed, got her a new battery, and she gave me her phone number so she could text me her work address to install it there. I initially rejected the payment, but she insisted on paying me for taking the time to come all that way and help her out. I accepted and told her it was no problem. I'm always happy to help when people need it. Later, I got a text from her. She thanks me again and appreciates me for helping her out. She invites me over to have dinner at her place on the next day, which was a Friday. Hesitating, I accept. I mean, who wouldn't want a free dinner to save themselves from having to cook? Dinner was nice, and I got to know her and her son a lot better. She insisted I call her by her first name instead of the formal miss. She's single, 39, and divorced her husband a few years ago after he cheated on her. Her ex has custody of their 7-year-old son on weekends. He's a quiet kid who listens well. She works as a sales representative at a building materials supply store. She talked about how hard it's been for both her and her son since the divorce, raising him as a single mother. I shared a bit about myself too, so she could get to know me better. I tried not to get too personal, but after hearing what she'd been through, I felt I had to be open and make the conversation balanced. The experience was overwhelming, a feeling I hadn't felt in a long time. Having dinner with Lizzie felt like being on a date. I'd been on dates before with girls my age, but never with a woman almost 20 years older, old enough to be my mother. Every time she spoke, I couldn't help but notice how sexy she looked and sounded. After dinner and once her son went to bed, we stayed up chatting on her couch, just the two of us. We laughed, drank, and enjoyed the moment. I flirted with her, trying to be subtle, but I noticed she was more direct. The alcohol was starting to affect me, and my intrusive thoughts began to take over. Then it happened instantly. We leaned over to each other and kissed. We ended up doing it right there on the spot, in her couch, knowing her son could walk in on us at any second if we made too much noise. Despite being the first time after her divorce, she was clearly more experienced than I was. I don't remember how long I lasted, but I didn't care. I was living the dream most guys could ever dream of. I couldn't believe it was happening. The sensation I was feeling was nothing I ever experienced before. It's been about a year since that night, and Lizzie and I have become inseparable so much that not a minute goes by without one of us touching the other. Every time we're together, she tells me how much she's missed this, how much more energized I make her feel, and how much better and bigger I am compared to that Tootsie Roll her ex had. We do it constantly, whenever we get the chance. Sometimes it's a quickie in the morning or her blowing me dry. It's not just at her apartment, but mine too. Bedroom, living room, kitchen countertops, even the dining table. We've done it during her lunch break in my car or hers, usually in a secluded spot like a Walmart parking lot under a tree, far from other cars, sometimes at a park when it's quiet, sneaking into public restrooms together, and occasionally on my balcony, with the railings covered so no one can see us, even though I'm only on the second floor. It excites me when she dirty talks in Spanish, and it turns her on when we do it outdoors. The fact that she's so casual about suggesting we do it in public makes me nervous, but also excited, and it makes me wonder how many times she's done it before. She's definitely a freak, no doubt about it. We ended up developing what I call a neighbors with benefits relationship, just two neighbors having a casual connection. To be clear, I told Lizzie early on that I wasn't looking for anything serious. She knows that, and is okay with it. Turns out, she isn't looking for a serious relationship either. In fact, she genuinely enjoys what we have. I've come to believe that, like many women in their late 30s, she struggles with intense urges. That turned out to be true. She confessed to me several months ago that she's been wanting to explore her sexuality more and have the fun she's been craving for a while, and she chose me as the right person for that. I still can't believe what I got myself into. After a year of non-stop banging with her, all I can think about now is doing it, all the time. At work, I'm constantly distracted, having trouble focusing. I take longer bathroom breaks on purpose so I can look at the pictures I have of her, and sometimes even solo off to videos I recorded during our sessions. I watch the clock too much, impatiently waiting for my shift to end, so I can go home and be with her. Things are getting a bit crazier now. Yesterday, Lizzie told me she's been thinking about creating a hub account or an UF together where we could upload videos and make some extra money on the side. So many thoughts are running through my head. Should I risk my privacy and expose myself online, maybe even to friends and family who don't know about us, just to make some extra cash? Could it be worth it to satisfy my raging desires? Or is Lizzie taking this too far? And what about her son? In this day and age, anything you put online can be used against you. What if her son gets bullied because kids are showing him pictures or videos of his mom? I don't know what to do. I feel like this has gone too far and needs to stop, but Lizzie isn't showing any signs of slowing down. I think she's serious about the whole idea. My brain tells me to stop, but my body is screaming to go for it. Just thinking about it excites. I can't help it. What do you guys think? Story 12. My friend and I have known each other for more than 8 years now. He bought a new house about a year ago, and since then we've been spending most of our time there instead of at the bar. He has a 21-year-old daughter, whom I don't know very well. Every now and then we talk. She seems like a pretty normal 21-year-old. She's very attractive, of course, but I never thought about doing anything with her. About a week ago, I stayed over at my friend's house. I usually sleep on the couch in the living room. In the middle of the night, his daughter came out of her room to watch TV and sat on the couch opposite me. We exchanged brief words during the ad breaks. As I sobered up a bit, I started watching TV with her, and we got into a real conversation, talking about simple things like how university was going and her schoolwork. At one point, we decided to share a plate of Doritos and move to the middle of the couch so we could both reach it. When the show ended, we ran out of things to say, and then we ended up kissing and later banging. I haven't talked to her since, and I've been avoiding talking to my friend as much as possible without him realizing something's wrong. Yesterday she sent me a message saying, "I hope you're not upset with me," but I didn't reply because I honestly don't know what to say. I know it could never happen, but I actually think she's really cool, though maybe I'm blinded because she's so gorgeous. I have no idea what to say to him, and I have no idea what to say to her. All I know is that I did it with my best friend's daughter, and I feel like a complete jerk. Story 13. I just did it with my pastor's wife. I don't know, she's really lonely because her husband doesn't spend much time with her, and I'm the only one she can really talk to. My pastor is a first-generation Korean American who grew up in the US before moving to Korea after seminary. His wife is Korean and never learned English in school. She's only been in the US about 9 months. I spent ages 0 to 9 in the US, then 9 to 18 in Korea, and now I'm back in the US at 19, so I'm fluent in Korean. Pretty much no one else around here speaks Korean. She started spending a lot of time with me because I was someone she could talk to. Earlier today we were watching a Korean drama together when she sat on my lap, and things happened. It's been slowly building up to this though. Story 14. I did it with my brother's fiancée. So, I went out clubbing on a Friday night and met this total stunner. We ended up back at my place, and I had the best bang of my life. Nobody before or since has handled my dong like she did. Then on Sunday she just disappeared while I was sleeping, vanished so completely it might as well have been the best wet dream I ever had. I kept going back to that club every Friday for months, hoping to find her again. Flash forward 6 years. My brother finally brings over his girlfriend, someone he'd been seeing for just over a year. When they arrive at the door, my eyes nearly pop out of my head. It's the same girl, but she doesn't skip a beat. She introduces herself like she's never met me. She's so convincing I start doubting myself. But I've tasted her titty bits. I know she's the same chick. So, I pull her aside and tell her I know she knows who I am. She warns me never to tell my brother because it would crush him and destroy their relationship. And if that's not enough, she pulls out a razor blade from her purse and says, "I'll split your dong in half." And I'm not kidding. They got engaged over Christmas. I want to tell my brother so badly, but she did have a point. Since I can't tell anyone in real life, I just needed to get this off my chest. Story 15. Hello Reddit. Last week I did it with my niece. I'm 19 years old. My half-brother is much older than me, born in the 70s. We come from a large family where everyone generally gets along well. In recent years, I've especially grown close to my niece, who's 18, let's call her Alex. During family gatherings and holidays, we always hang out together, and over the last 6 months, we've started spending time weekly. We really connect and have become like very close friends, sharing almost everything with each other. A few days ago, we were at my place, talking when Alex told me something unexpected. Apparently, another relative had assumed we had slept together when she spent the night here. I was really surprised, but even stranger was that this relative was more shocked we hadn't than if we actually had. "You said pretty distantly related," she said. I thought about it for a moment. Alex is my father's grandchild, so technically, we set not very closely related. "Have you ever thought about us doing something?" I asked. She had. I hadn't really allowed myself to see her that way before, but when I did, I realized I was pretty attracted to her. She's good looking. One thing led to another, and we banged for like half a minute. I was way too uncomfortable, so I stopped and moved away. My mind was a total mess at that point. I went back and forth between feeling guilty, horny, disgusted, thinking it was wrong, then not wrong, feeling it was creepy, then feeling it made sense, and then disgusted again. I couldn't really believe what had just happened. So, I told her to leave. She went home, and we haven't spoken since. It's been 3 or 4 days. I feel like I just ruined our entire relationship. What the hell was I thinking? Story 16. I slept with my sister's husband and accidentally outed him. This is going to be a long one, so please sit back and try to relax. I'm using a throwaway because this has been eating away at me for 2 years now, and I just need to get it off my chest. A bit of context to this situation. I'm trans, more specifically, MTF, male to female, 26 years old. About 15 years ago, I realized I was meant to be a girl. I was 100% sure. Like many, I was effeminate and secretly dressed in girls' clothes. I tried to keep it hidden for as long as I could. I was raised in a very religious and conservative family that was strongly against anything LGBT. Whenever I tried to hint at who I really was, they shut me down and sent me to the priest to get the thoughts out of my head. When I was 13, I was really close to my aunt. She was somewhat on the outskirts of the family and didn't have much of a relationship with them, but whenever my parents and sister went away, I would stay with her. I confided in her about what I was going through, crying, bawling my eyes out, even dry heaving after revealing my secret. She accepted me for who I was, and took me shopping the next day. For the next 2 weeks I lived in full girl mode, and it was the best week of my life. Eventually, the day came when my parents picked me up and took me back home to live my life as before. That sent me into a deep depression. After talking with my aunt and close friends, I decided to come out to my family. My dad hit me, my mom hit me, and my sister spat on me and beat me, calling me a disgusting faggot, and worse. They kicked me out and completely disowned me. At 13, my aunt took me in, and we began the necessary steps to get me proper treatment. I cannot thank my aunt enough. During that time, I came to see her as my true mother. She supported me through hormone treatment, therapy, and any surgeries I needed. She was there for me during university, helping pay for it and supporting me whenever I needed it. I haven't seen or met my biological family since that day when I was 13, nor do I want to. Surprisingly, most of my relatives, grandparents, and others wanted to see me, but I shut them off after learning what they had done to me. They have been very supportive since. Anyway, that's the backstory. Now to that night. I was at a club with some friends, the usual drinks and dancing, when a guy approached me. Being trans, I immediately told him I was MTF and hadn't had bottom surgery yet. He was totally fine with it, and there was a spark. Long story short, we went back to my place and hooked up. When I woke up the next morning, his phone was buzzing on the bedside table. I saw he had 6 missed calls from his wife. I was mortified. This man had a wife, and I could have potentially ruined his marriage. I woke him up, not angry but with a stern tone, and asked if he was married. He was surprisingly honest. He told me he came from a religious family and had been in a forced marriage. He'd been gay all along but felt too deep in to change things. I was a bit angry and told him he should be honest with his wife. We ended up having an honest heart-to-heart. I could relate to him, coming from an extremely religious family that didn't accept me and abandoned me. We exchanged numbers and kept in close contact over the next few weeks, occasionally meeting for coffee to talk about life and help him through his struggles. One day, we decided to meet up for coffee. He told me he wanted to bring his wife so we could have a proper discussion and see if I could mediate. Obviously, I didn't want to be known as the other woman, but I saw a bit of myself in him and didn't want him to go through the hell I had suffered, so I agreed. I got there early and sat down with my coffee. When I saw him enter with his wife, my whole body shut down. I was in utter shock. Shaking and tearing up, I realized it was my sister. They both sat down, and it was clear he had told her about the affair with me. But she didn't recognize me. I was visibly holding back tears and struggling through a panic attack when he began explaining that he was gay, that he'd always been, and that I'd been helping him come to terms with his sexuality. She seemed reasonably calm at first, but then she started berating me, calling me every name under the sun, telling me I'd never be a real woman, and calling me the scum of the earth for sleeping with a married man. At that moment, years of trauma and panic flooded to the surface. I looked at her and said, "It's David, by the way. My old name, but I go by Jenna now." There was a solid 15 seconds of silence before she went pale, grabbed her coat, and left without a word. Her husband was obviously confused and asked me what was going on. I briefly explained that I had come out as trans at 13, that she had beaten and berated me, and that my family had abandoned me, and that the woman he'd been forced to marry was my sister. He got up and left too. The fallout was tough. My sister found my social media and started tagging me in posts, outing her husband and calling me a homewrecker. I was bombarded with messages from her friends and family, telling me to off myself and using hurtful slurs. Eventually, I had to deactivate my accounts. The guy left her, and last I heard, he had found a partner he was happy with. My aunt found the whole situation hilarious, and sometimes when I look back on it, I laugh too. But yeah, I needed to get this off my chest, and my therapist recommended writing it out. I thought this was the best place to do that. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.